So my parents, they did the traditional dating. So when they were engaged, they spent a lot of time alone together, and so I think it's just neat to see the wisdom that they've spoken to our lives as we've grown up, and just said, "Hey kids, like this is a really neat idea, and this is something that we feel like having done the traditional dating, we feel like with courtship, it really provides a neat aspect."
Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad to have you here. It's Monday, June 7th. I've been having such a hard time getting ready today, and I had to put this shirt on, honestly, to make me feel motivated, because when I put my mind on my money, then I'm like, all right, let's get to work. Let's get on YouTube. And Snoop Dogg always makes me feel inspired. So what would Snoop do? Snoop would get to work. Snoop would get his mind on his money, and Snoop would put out content. So here we are. Mondays in the summer are always so hard. But welcome everyone. It's my son's last week of school. For those of you that have kids that are out of school, welcome to summer. There's only 3 months left. Anyways, I have an update for you on Jill Duggar. Now, so there has been some obvious stuff going on with Josh Duggar, right? We know that his trial is coming up here in a month, and we know that the Duggars have been silent. We have not heard anything from Anna, and we know that there has been so much in the press just in general about everything related to the Duggars. Now, if you're not following me on Instagram, I would highly recommend doing that. I post a lot there that I don't normally post on my YouTube channel, and a lot of times you'll be able to see what I'm working on ahead of time before I actually make content. So my Instagram is Without a Crystal Ball. So Jill Dillard and Derek Dillard actually got a dog a couple months ago, and her name is Fenna, and they adopted the dog from a humane society. Her adoption of this dog has been littered with some issues, with people being a little bit concerned about some of the things that she's been doing. Right off the jump, she got the dog and was going to put the dog outside and have the dog live outside, which made a lot of people really upset, because she lives in a development, and it's not like she's out in the country, and most dogs shouldn't be kept out overnight. So initially, some of the stuff that she was getting used to with having a dog were making people feel like really scared. A lot of people left her a lot of comments, and it seems like she has been doing a really good job. She has got her dog at the, they've been doing training classes. The dog seems to be acclimating really well, and overall, she has improved. Given the fact that a lot of people early on, including me, I actually left her some comments early on and basically told her about some of the things that she had, like her crate initially was a little bit too small. She also was going to have the dog sleep in overnight. I encouraged her not to do that. So pet owners are always going to feel a certain type of way when they see a new dog owner with a dog, because it's easy to make a lot of mistakes, and some people are going to get really concerned, like, oh my gosh, don't hurt the doggy, because we love our pets. Now, I'm not saying that she's done anything bad here. Because of a lot of that backlash she's gotten about the dog, she has gotten a little bit sassy on her Instagram. And I actually thought this kind of funny, because this is like the first time I've ever seen her be really clapbacky, like in a post. And it could be that she doesn't want to deal with it. It also could just be that that's the space that she's in right now. It could be that she's continuing to grow. But it was unique, and I thought it was interesting. And it was all about her feeding her dog breast milk. Here's the thing. She breastfed her kids, and I think Sam is 3 or 4 years old now, and so obviously she hasn't used this milk in a while, and it was still in her freezer. And so she's like, she found it and she gave it to Sam. It's 2 years old, and thawed it out. I guess he didn't like it, and she gave it to the dog. So this is actually what she posted on her Instagram. I've had my last teeny bottle of breast milk in the freezer for nearly a couple years now. Both my boys stopped breastfeeding around 2 years old, and Sam is almost 4. I know, it's probably freezer burnt nutritionless substance now. Well, Sam randomly asked to try it recently, and it didn't look or smell bad when it thawed out, so I let him try it. As expected, he didn't like it after taking a couple sips. Needless to say, now all 3 of my children have had breast milk. Anyone else feels sentimental about their liquid gold? And she said, whoever coined the phrase, no use crying over spilled milk, certainly never pumped. Also, before any of you jump on me for feeding it to the dog, she's fine. She's totally fine. I wouldn't have given it to her if I thought it would make her sick. Just chill, okay? So that was posted really before she ever even put it up. So I thought that was funny, like, okay. So she already knew that giving the dog this milk was going to elicit people's concern for the dog. She got mostly positive feedback on this post. And honestly, you know, it was a small portion of breast milk, and it's not something you would want to continually give to your dog. But, you know, obviously she was prepared to get the backlash. So the comments weren't bad at all. Now, I went ahead and shared that on my Instagram, and I just let people know that, like, okay, this is what she posted. It's kind of sassy. Now, in terms of like whether or not it's safe to give a dog breast milk, dogs, according to what I've been able to read, I found a website that actually I actually found a website called Wag Walking, which is all about dogs, which spoke about whether or not it's safe to give your dog breast milk. So there's a lot of things that dogs can and cannot eat, and sometimes they get into things, so you can't always control them. You know, things that you shouldn't normally give a dog are things like chocolate, avocado, grapes. These are all things that can be poisonous to the dog. So milk is one thing that dogs can struggle with. Even though they love it, it also can be very like hard on their tummies, because milk in general has lactose in it, and dogs are lactose intolerant because it's not a natural substance that they would have. So it can lead to like abdominal cramping and runny stuff, you know, or throwing up. So with the advent of breast milk being sort of the savior for everything, a lot of people are, you know, you can Google it and it'll say, like, is it safe to give dogs breast milk? Well, this is what Wag Walking says. No matter what you're told, there are no actual benefits of giving human breast milk to your dog. In fact, your dog is probably really lactose intolerant and will not be able to digest any of the nutrients that have been contained in the breast milk. Drinking it isn't necessarily fatal, but it is dangerous and can cause adverse food reactions in your pup. And it basically says you can expect throwing up, loose stools, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, I mean, it wasn't a lot. She insists that he's fine, or she's fine. And I just was like, whoa, she was already anticipating the backlash about the dog, which one was like, okay, she might know that this is going to make this is a questionable choice, and 2, she already felt like the need to defend herself. I posted this on my Instagram, and first and foremost, I just have to say something. Like, if I post something about Jill Duggar and it's not super positive, or if it's just like a matter of a fact post and I'm not coming at her like negatively at all, people automatically come at me like I am like chopping down their queen, because obviously we are so proud of her for leaving the cult. But she had an upbringing where she didn't have the best education, and so sometimes when you see different things, you might want to point things out and help educate people, which was my only point here. I wasn't trying to drag her. I was just saying that this might not be safe, just because she has a very large platform. She has 1.7 million people that follow her. People in the comments were like, she might be free, but this still doesn't help her lack of education. Another person said, I thought this was bizarre, like really just throw that out. Another person said she should have drank it herself if she didn't want to waste it. Dogs will eat anything. That doesn't mean it's good for them. And then someone said, I had the same thought when I saw this, like, put it in your bath. It makes your skin super soft. And if you're sentimental, you can make jewelry with it. Just don't give it to the dog. But one person said this, honestly, I would have done the same and probably wouldn't have even thought to check about it being safe for dogs. I have just assumed that it was, not saying that it's the right thing to do, that just what I've done. I work so hard for every drop of breast milk I produce that the idea of dumping it would have killed me. I've wanted to use it for somehow versus dumping it, and this doesn't seem that outlandish an idea in my opinion. I'm glad the dog is fine. Another person said, I asked my friend who's a vet, and he said it's like giving your dog ice cream or a puppuccino. Most dogs love dairy like humans, but they have a wee bit of an upset tummy after, aka baby food. Some will have loose stools away from them, so it's not like she's feeding the dog raisins. Right. So raisins can be deadly, grapes can be deadly. So obviously it's not going to hurt the dog long term. It's just it could maybe give the dog a tummy ache. So obviously it was mixed on this. Some people saying it's not that big of a deal, it's not that newsworthy. Other people saying, I wouldn't have done that. That's not what I would do. So whenever I'm sharing posts like this, it's really not to be bashy. It's honestly just like, oh, look, this is what she did. It's funny. Like, oh, she gave the dog breast milk. Now let's verify that this is something that's okay to do, which I did. So as long as the dog is fine, that's what matters. And she doesn't have any more that she's going to be giving it. Just know that if you were to see this in the future or say have some extra of your own, it could potentially give your dog an upset stomach. Now, that doesn't mean it won't stop people, but at the end of the day, being a smart dog owner, being a responsible dog owner is definitely understanding what will upset their tummies and what could potentially be fatal. In this case, it wouldn't be fatal, but it could cause a mess. So, what do you think about her? Do you think the clap back is because in response to all of the negativity she's received, or do you think that it was more just like, hey, let me have my dog, everything's fine? At the end of the day, I'm glad the dog is okay. I'm glad that she's loving the dog. I'm glad the kids are loving the dog. And I hope as she grows with this dog and I hope as she becomes a more experienced dog owner, she'll learn and grow more. That's all you can do. All right, you guys, tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.